200 ancient giant skeletons unearthed in Cayuga, Canada. We shouldn't be surprised because all of the northern United States has been strewn with ancient giant skeletons found anywhere from Nevada to Illinois to the Great Lakes regions. But here, 5 or 6 feet below the ground, were unearthed 200 giant skeletons, nearly all intact and in very good condition. Discoveries of the skeletons of a gigantic race often surface on various news articles and media, and we are therefore more puzzled to know to what race the ancient mound builders belonged. Let's remember we had an almost extinction level event in the Younger Dryas era around 12,000 BC. The Clovis culture people were wiped out from that, along with major fauna and flora. I'd like to inform you that even in ancient Greece and in the ancient world, many a time they had mounds built with many bodies buried there. The bodies usually of soldiers that fell during a conflict or a battle, and they build mounds over them as an area of entombment and commemoration to them. And it could be that this, who knows, maybe they had a conflict or a battle, and that's why there were 200 bodies found in mounds like this. So a century ago, an article appeared in the Toronto Daily Telegraph stating that in the township of Cauyga in the Grand River, at the farm of a resident named Daniel Fradenberg, 5 or 6 feet below the ground, were unearthed 200 skeletons, nearly all intact in their well conditions. The discoverers found a string of beads around the neck of each, stone pipes in the jaws of several of them, and many stone axes and skinners to be scattered around in the dirt. The skeletons were gigantic, some of them even measuring 9 feet, and few of them less than 7. Some of the thigh bones were 6 inches longer than any usual human skeleton. The farm had been cultivated for a century and was originally covered with a thick growth of pine trees. There was evidence from the crushed bones that a battle took place on that soil in the ancient time, and these were some of the slain. And these were the remains of the Indians or some totally other race, and who did fill this ghastly pit. The Pioneer Society of Michigan in 1915 in Ontario, Canada. The Reverend Nathaniel Worden, Messieurs Orrin Wardle of Toronto and Daniel Fradenberg, on Wednesday last, the article reads, were digging on the farm of the latter gentleman, which is on the banks of the Grand River in the township of Cauyga. When they got to 5 or 6 feet below the surface, a strange sight met them. Piled in layers, one on top of the other, some 200 skeletons of human beings, nearly perfect, around the neck of each one being a string of beads. There were also deposited in this pit a number of axes and skimmers made of stone. In the jaws of several of the skeletons were large stone pipes, one of which Mr. O. Wardle took with him to Toronto a day or two after his Golgotha was unearthed. This Golgotha was unearthed. These skeletons are those of men of gigantic stature, some of them measuring 9 feet, very few of them being less than 7 feet. Some of the thigh bones were found to be at least a foot longer than those at present known, and one of the skulls being examined completely covered the head of an ordinary person. These skeletons are supposed to belong to those of a race of people anterior to the Indians, the Native Americans that is. Some 3 years ago, the bones of a mastodon were found embedded in the earth about 6 miles from this spot. The pit and its ghastly occupants are now open to the view of any who may wish to make the visit there. Some people profess to believe that the locality of Fradenberg Farm was formerly an Indian burial site, but the enormous stature of the skeletons and the fact that pine trees of centuries' growth covered the spot goes far to disprove this idea. Did Fradenberg and his associates really unearth the remains of ancient giant race lost in time? If so, are those findings hidden today? And this is by Inhale Ancient Mysteries on Collective Spark. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.